There's about a 33% chance you have fatty liver and you don't even know you have it. According to the American Liver Foundation, 80 to 100 million adults in the US, that's over 1/3 of the population, have fatty liver disease and many don't know they have it. Left untreated, liver disease can lead to liver failure and liver cancer. Fatty liver is also a major risk factor for heart disease, diabetes, dementia, and so much more. The good news is it's completely preventable and reversible, provided you haven't scarred your liver, also called cirrhosis, from years of poor lifestyle choices. Surprisingly, fatty liver is actually an easy fix. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do just that, including the number one food you need to avoid. We're also going to talk about how to find out if you have fatty liver, what causes it, foods and supplements you can take to heal your fatty liver, and so much more. But first, let me give you some context that's really important to understand all of this. What is fatty liver? You most likely already know what it is, especially if you've dabbled in French cuisine delicacies like foie gras or pâté. The unmistakable creamy texture is achieved by force-feeding ducks and goose starch. It's actually a cruel and horrible process. To give you some context, they take a big pipe and stick it down the bird's throat and they force-feed them corn, which turns to sugar. That starts a process in the liver called lipogenesis, meaning the creation of fat. It's the body's normal response to excess sugar. Foie gras literally means fatty liver in French. Everyone's been led to believe that fat makes you fat, right? But it's actually not dietary fat that makes you fat. And there's now plenty of high-quality research to support that notion. What makes you fat? Starch and sugar. And not just any type of starch and sugar. The most injurious ones are ultra-processed starch and a type of processed sugar called high fructose corn syrup. Now, what's the number one source of high fructose corn syrup in a typical person's diet? By far, it's sugar-sweetened drinks like soda, energy drinks, and sports drinks, which unfortunately comprises a big portion of calories in the standard American diet. There are literally billions and billions of servings of soda consumed in North America alone every year. That, my friends, is easily the biggest driver of so many of the health problems you see today. So, how do you know if you have fatty liver? You can get your blood tested the next time you visit your doctor and get a liver test done. The problem is, it's typically going to come out normal, even if you already have a fatty liver, unless it's really bad. At that point, you're going to have bigger problems. If you want to be proactive about your health, there are more advanced tests for fatty liver you can request from your doctor, like an AST and GGT. And if your results are on the higher side of what's considered normal, I would still be proactive with fatty liver prevention. You can also get a liver fibroscan or an MRI of your liver. Your liver fat should be less than 2%. The problem is, some people could have liver fat of 20% or more. And that's where the problem starts. Fat around your liver creates inflammation, prevents detoxifying, worsens cholesterol, and it negatively impacts blood sugar and insulin. It causes absolute metabolic chaos to your body, which then creates a whole cascade of problems. That's the consequence of over-consuming refined starch and processed sugar. Fatty liver then becomes one of the main drivers of insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, and causes something called visceral fat to accumulate around your organs, all around your belly. Fatty liver also starts to negatively affect important biomarkers like high triglycerides, low HDL, and causes a rise in small cholesterol particles, also called VLDL. This dangerous visceral fat is what then drives cardiovascular disease, as well as diabetes, cancer, dementia, and other chronic illnesses that you see today, which, if you think about it, didn't really exist 100 years ago. Cardiovascular disease, now the number one killer worldwide, was extremely rare back then. We also didn't have ultra-processed foods a century ago. Go figure. Certain populations with select genes are also more susceptible to fatty liver. For example, Latin Americans are at a much higher risk. What's really scary is 1 in 10 kids in the US have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, making it about as common as asthma. That's scary. When kids need liver transplant from drinking soda, we've failed as a society. Again, the good news is you can actually fix fatty liver. There aren't any medications that specifically targets it, and that's okay because the human body is an amazing thing. It's self-healing. Now, there's a few lifestyle interventions you can make, and your diet is by far the biggest lever you can pull to fix your fatty liver. By far, the first and most powerful step is to get rid of the poison, which again is refined starch and processed sugar in the form of high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is metabolized by the body differently compared to regular sugar. It just goes right in the liver. Not a good thing. Again, we're specifically talking about high fructose corn syrup here. It oftentimes gets confounded with fructose in a food matrix like fruit, which also contains some glucose. They're not the same, because fructose in a food matrix also contains fiber, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, and antioxidants. It doesn't get absorbed by the body quickly because of the combination of all those components. Nature doesn't make mistakes when it comes to real food. So seasonal fruit in sensible amounts is not bad for you. But when you have something chemically engineered like high fructose corn syrup, it's just free fructose. It's not something you'll ever find in nature. High fructose corn syrup is the main type of sugar you'll find in 99% of ultra-processed foods like soda and candy. It's because it's dirt cheap to produce. How many people do you know drink soda every day and sometimes with every meal? It's basically rocket fuel for fatty liver. The solution then becomes crystal clear. If you want to get rid of fatty liver, avoid high fructose corn syrup at all costs. In fact, if there's one dietary change you can make that will drastically change your life, don't eat or drink anything that contains high fructose corn syrup. It's absolutely toxic to the human body with zero health benefits. The problem is, it's also very addicting. The bigger problem is it's literally in everything the average person not paying attention to their diet eats on a daily basis. It's in breakfast cereal, bread, soda, juice drinks, granola bars, Pop-Tarts, applesauce, and other ultra-processed junk. You can even find it in seemingly healthy food like salad dressings and tomato sauce. That's why it's extremely important to read food labels. The second dietary cause of fatty liver is refined starch. What might surprise you is even minimally processed starch, when overconsumed, can be a problem. Remember the ducks that were force-fed corn to make foie gras? Corn is a form of minimally processed starch. But even whole grain corn, when overconsumed, can potentially lead to fatty liver. Same thing with whole grain flour. A lot of people are under the impression that whole wheat bread is better compared to white bread. It's not. It's still an ultra-processed food. Similar to fruit, the key to eating starch is it needs to be contained in a food matrix like whole beans and sweet potatoes, for example. That way, your body knows what to do with it. You can then further improve how your body metabolizes starch by consuming it with some fat or animal protein. More on this in just a second. Let's quickly talk about alcohol. If you can count in your hands the amount of times you've had a drink in a calendar year, you're probably okay. But if you're having a couple of beers or a couple of glasses of wine to unwind every day, which is what typically happens, your liver is gonna suffer. Now, being proactive, you also want to do things to help heal your liver. Again, step number 1 is getting rid of the poison. Get rid of refined starch and processed sugar. Severely limit your intake of ultra-processed foods and soda. Step number 2, and this might surprise you, eat more high-quality fat. High-quality fat actually heals your liver, particularly MCT oil, which is a derivative of coconut oil. Same goes for avocado, extra virgin olive oil, and a little bit of nuts and seeds. Even saturated fats and cholesterol from meat, which is a controversial topic for some people, isn't a problem when it comes to healing fatty liver. In fact, beef actually contains mostly monounsaturated fatty acids, the same beneficial fats found in olive oil and avocados. You can also eat pork, chicken, and seafood. In fact, omega-3 fats from wild-caught fish are extremely important for optimal health. They're anti-inflammatory, which helps heal the liver. It makes complete sense. We've been eating animals and animal products for millions of years. Other types of healthy fats you can use for cooking are macadamia oil, extra virgin coconut oil, and butter. At the same time, you also want to stay away from highly inflammatory cheap industrial oils and foods that contain them. This is why you should never eat deep-fried fast food products like French fries and fried chicken. These inflammatory oils are also found in 99% of all ultra-processed food. Yet another reason why you should avoid it. Unsurprisingly, exercise can also help heal fatty liver. You want to get at least 8,000 steps a day and do resistance training 2 to 4 times per week. It helps regulate metabolism, it uses up your liver glycogen stores, it improves insulin resistance, and helps reduce inflammation. You also want to prioritize sleep to give your body time to heal. When it comes to natural supplements to support liver detoxification, you can use milk thistle, dandelion greens, artichoke hearts, rosemary spices, and curcumin. You also need all the B vitamins like folate, B6, and B12, as well as zinc, selenium, and magnesium. They all help your liver heal. Unsurprisingly, all those nutrients are found in their most bioavailable form in animal foods. When it comes to vegetables, brassica vegetables are also important to help your liver heal. Things like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, arugula, and the likes. Garlic and onions are also good because they contain sulfur. There's also cilantro and parsley, which are both detoxifying. As always, real food is the answer. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then you don't want to ignore this one. I'll see you there.